It's the first time that I do the online webinar. I think our connection is quite better, or someone left the mic open. Yeah, the funny like a Donald Duck voice.
Investor in Taiwan is quite active in Vietnam, and I just wonder for AppWorks.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, have you talked to June? Yeah, they are. They're
but I know they're active here.
Oh, he is super hot. But you are married already, so he is actually very hot. And just I met him in person, and I was like, oh la la. He's like a mixed Taiwanese. No, just he's a mixed Taiwanese, Japanese. But he doesn't look like any of it. It's like a big, tall guy, and like a bit muscular, and just like sporty and wild gentleman, and smell good.
Oh, that sounds appealing.
Oh yeah. If you get a chance, like probably next year, I think he will be very active in Vietnam once the travel restriction lift. So you might get a chance to meet him. I think they invest in the 𝗃𝗧𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, right?
𝗃𝗧𝗃𝗃, that's right.
𝗃𝗧𝗃𝗃, yeah.
Hey, they invest quite early.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I think they got to know the founder as a participant in their accelerator, and then they made the investment go right away.
Correct.
Any open up any round.
Correct. Because actually, AppWorks, they have the accelerator like 2 batch per year, and they actually welcome the Southeast Asian founder to join. I think half of the participants now is non-Taiwanese. So it's just like probably, just like 20% from Hong Kong, or, like Hong Kong, Macau-ish, and then like 30% from Southeast Asia, actually. They are quite active in Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam.
Yeah, I think it's Taiwan only, probably not exciting or big enough. Probably should open up right now.
Yeah. Okay, good evening for all the participants. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host tonight, Evie, and you see our speaker Phuong is ready. We will start in a couple minutes. So just in case you have your friend want to join and you haven't seen them, and just pin them and just get them to start. So we will start at 8:05, okay?
Have you been to Vietnam, Edie? You're mute.
I was in Vietnam actually the whole 2020.
The whole 2020? And
yeah.
Then you got out, during COVID?
Yeah, I came back because of the family thing, so I need to come back. Okay. Yeah, I was with friend before, and I think some of my ex-colleagues pitched to you too, like Sophie. And now she is with Phoenix, the one in Dragonland.
Sophie. Oh yeah,
Jewberry, the English girl, yeah.
Dragonland.
Not sure. Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure if she's here. Yeah. I was there. I really miss Vietnam actually. It's an amazing place to be.
Which district were you staying in?
I was in D4 because our office was in D1 right across the bridge. So easier. I was in Treasure. Good place. I miss it.
Come back.
Oh yeah, can't wait. I think it's the time. So okay then, let's start. So good evening again for our honorable guest and my colleague and dear Phuong. So thank you for joining us tonight. It's gonna be an amazing night that we will really focus on the B2B business in Southeast Asia. And it's my honor to have her today because she has a relatively amazing journey. Like I think her career is quite impressive. She humbly said it's like get lucky, but I think nothing is by luck. It's all by like your effort and you actually network, so you get the position you want. So without further ado, let's welcome Phuong to share her amazing journey with us. Off to you, Phuong.
All right, thanks, Evie. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you today. Really an honor to be sharing my story because I think I'm still very starting on the journey. But so I'm Phuong. I'm 29 years old. I'm born and raised in Vietnam. I'm a mother of one. She's 1-year-old girl. So I live abroad like 1/3 of my life so far in the States, the UK, and Singapore. So a pretty good mix of local and international. I went to university in Lehigh University, Pennsylvania, with a degree in finance and marketing. After that, I got my master's degree in management from University College of London. So a mixture of US and UK. Can we move to the, are we showing the slides? Because I cannot see.
Yeah, I think, can you share, do you have the assets to share? I think easier for you to just share.
Oh, I'm supposed to be sharing.
Just, yeah, to go with your flow.
Hold on.
Yep.
Can you see it now?
Now, yes, with present mode, then we're all good. The one next to yellow bottom. Yeah. Present.
Actually, Tam, are you here? Can you share the slides for me? Because I'm having some notes here, so I need to look at the notes.
Okay, sure. Tam, please. Yeah, just voice control Tam, then she can help you.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, the next slide, please. Cool, thank you. So my first job out of college was a 2-year stint in Singapore in petrochemical trading, where I dabbled with physical trade of downstream oil products. At the same time, helping the trading company move into manufacturing via JV with 𝗃𝗃𝗏 refinery in Vietnam. After the project was launched, I wanted to move back home. So I applied for a job at Vina Capital. I was part of the principal investment team where we invest out of the balance sheet. That means the shareholders' money. So we were allowed to freedom to do all kinds of deals along the deal team as long as we would make money. So anything from venture capital, private equity, real estate, bridge financing, list equity. I got to work closely with Anh Don, which was the partner there, as we were direct under him. And this is where I learned what is investment about, pretty much. I was very lucky in the sense that the first deal I participated in after joining was a $7 million mixed vehicle of convertible bond and equity investment into Year One Corporation. You guys might know about Year One Media. They are a multi-media group with traditional media. And back then, their growth driver was a growing YouTube business. That was the main, that was listed, I think, number 7th in the world. So when 1.5 years after we invested, Year One listed on the wholesale local stock exchange at a 400 million valuation. I think that was more than 10x our return after just 1.5 years. They were the first media tech company to list on the local stock exchange. And back then it was listed 90x PE multiple due to the high expectation as a media technology company. So I was in the room with the Year One team, Year One and the head HSC team the day before they list, and was there when Anh Tống, the chairman, was striking the bell on the wholesale HQ on the first trading day. So I think I was pretty lucky for someone very fresh in the investment world. And that was when my interest and love for the investment career was sparked. So after Year One, Vina Capital decided to open our own Vina Capital Ventures to do venture capital as a focus rather than just do everything. As we saw a gap in the market back then, because we saw a lot of angels and seed fund doing smaller check size deal from 50K to 200K. And we see some growth stage deals, so the likes of 5 and 10 million. But there was no one in the middle doing Series C, pre-Series A and Series A deal to take the company from being very early to being growth stage. So we decided to just open up our own fund. Vienna Capital seeded us with 20 million. My boss, Chang from Grab and 𝗃𝗧𝗹𝗶 was the partner. And I was one of the 3 founding members of the team. Since then, we grow the fund to be a $100 million fund, with our LP being high net worth individuals from Hong Kong and Singapore, and the likes of Line and Naver from Korea. The fund grew to be about 7 people now. We did about 12 investments, and I'm happy to say that none of the companies that we invested into are dead. They went on to raise additional rounds. Some of the notable deals I have done there are Yourbox, a digital voucher platform, 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝐿𝐿, a social selling platform. The founders of these companies, the founders of the company remain very good friends, and we still talk regularly. So after 2 years of doing this, it was very fun learning on the job at Vienna Capital, because we were all learning on the job. None of us had investing experience. And I went on to make friends with my colleagues back then, who I believe will remain lifelong friends. But after a while, I felt a bit restless. I wanted to learn from someone more been there, done that, who have a playbook and a framework that I can learn from. And I want to move out of investing only in Vietnam. That's why I want to move to a more regional fund. That's how Wavemaker partners come into the picture. So I interviewed with a few funds from Singapore, right? And I got offers from 3 of them, 2 of which are very prominent funds as well. But I chose to join Wavemaker because they have quite interesting angle, which I'll go into later. I joined Wavemaker in March 2020, which has been 1.5 years since then. In Wavemaker, I cover the whole Vietnam market for them, and I still do overseas deals, but more on an opportunistic basis. Additionally to doing new deals, I have managed about 14 overseas portfolio companies, of which one is an unicorn in the space industry, a direct competitor of SpaceX. They are called Relativity Space. They just raised a round of $600 million, which placed them at a $4.5 billion valuation. So it's very exciting. I get exposure out of Vietnam, and why I still get to be in charge of Vietnam. So for Vietnam, since 1.5 years after I joined, I have directly made 5 investments, 4 of which Wavemaker has led the round, and 1 where Wavemaker was the follow investor. The verticals that we made investment into include agriculture, Vietnam being a mainly agriculture country, mobility, health tech and insurtech, education and social commerce. So I also recently made a deal in Pakistan, which interestingly come from a value Vietnam-based contact, which proved my point that in VC, it's all about the people, where anything can happen and the world is pretty flat. Next slide, please. So 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗏 wanted me to share my perspective of what I think was the advantage and disadvantage of being a lady in the industry, arguably full of gentlemen. So, I mean, I love to talk about this from a gender perspective, but I still think there's a gender gap in almost, in VC, like in almost other professional career, and is against women. But basically, from a junior working level perspective, I don't think there's pretty much any gap between being a male, female. I actually see plenty of female associates around myself, especially in Vietnam. I think the females even outnumber the males. Let's talk about the advantage of being female in VCs first, which is plenty. So VC is a people's business that is heavily laden with needs for intuition, reading between the lines, and visualizing the vision. So I think females are naturally, arguably, more right-brained with our intuition and our people skills. So I can see why female are actually more advantaged to be a VC, because we are more nurturing, we are better at understanding what the other person on the table is saying between the lines, and we would be very good at networking, handling founder and stakeholders in a deal. It's just more, we're more peace-loving, we're more nurturing, it's easier to get things done because it's a people's business. And also, this might be politically incorrect to say, but if you think about it, the main bulk of your job is to handle founders, out of which 80% would be males. And arguably, these males would love to have a lady listen to their vision, their dream, and what they want to do for the business. So you are better at opening up the founder, get them to talk and trust you with their vision. And when you encounter a female founder, the rest of the time, they're even more passionate and happy because they see someone across the room as a female just like them, and they will tend to trust you even more. So I would say on a working level, being female is great. We need more female in the industry, and female, I think, in my view, are overperforming over the males. But there's also some disadvantage, and let's go there. I think there are mainly three. First of which happened to myself. So as a female, sometimes you make a family, and then pregnancy happen, and you need to take like at least, I think, 5 months. And that's 5 months you cannot work. And in VC, every day there's something happening, and you need to stay on top of the trend. So when you take a 5-month break from your career, you want to be pretty much out of the game for 5 months. Your contacts will be like forgetting about you, and you come back, you have to refresh all of that. For myself, I'm pretty lucky in the sense that I can outsource a lot of my childcare to a nanny and my mom. But I can see for someone who wants to be more hands-on, or someone from a more developed country like Singapore or the States, it's going to be a pretty big disadvantage for them if they want to have it all. The second advantage is, I think pre-hiring, some manager would have an assumption that being female would be more difficult to handle than a male junior person, not because the female don't perform, but because the male bosses worry that they cannot be as straightforward or tough with their female junior like with the male. Like you cannot really scold her because you feel that you want to be polite and you want to be nice. So I don't think, I still haven't thought of a way to counter this. I think the only way is just for female to just continue to show up, be hungry, be driven, and just help each other shed the preconception down piece by piece. And the third thing is that once you move to a more senior position in VC, so once you become principal or you become a partner, the skill set become less handling founders and more as selling yourself. So you need to sell yourself to your LP, you need to sell yourself to your co-investor, you need to be a value contributing board member, so you need to speak up a lot more. And I still think that females tend to shy away from this, not because they don't have the knowledge, it's just that the way that we are raised, we are shyer than the males. We tend to undersell ourselves a lot more than the males. I think confidence do not come naturally to women, and it's just something that we need to work at and help each other with. Next slide, please. So from 4 years in VC and working my way up the ladder, I've derived a few learnings I love to share with you guys, just from my own personal perspective. So the first is to basically read a lot and develop your knowledge, because VC is very broad. Sometimes you would be working with 10 and 20 companies, and each of them will be working a different vertical. So you need to have a very diverse base of knowledge to be contributing to each of the company that you help manage. The second is that you should build trust-based relationship with all among you, not just your senior or someone that you think might be beneficial down the line. This will be key to be differentiate and stand out as you go along in your career. The key factor to differentiate a great VC investor and just a so-so one, I think, is the ability to add additional value to portfolio companies after you invest. Because too big to source and invest is just a commodity nowadays. There's a lot of money. So how do you stand out? You need to add value after you invest. And how do you do this when you obviously don't know the business as well as the founders? How do you add value? You can bring in experts. You can help source partnership for them. You can help them open doors for business contracts. You can help them hire. You refer talent them for a position that they are hiring for. And this is done by having as many highly quality relationships as possible in your network. Third is to do internships. And this is quite obvious. Everyone wants to hire someone that has experience, and how you have experience fresh out of college, do internships. And the last is trying to be authentic, trying to be curious and full of wonder of life. That you will notice and see things that happened and when founders pitch to you, the ideas to solve daily life pain points. you will see what they have merits or not, because you're authentic and you are curious in your daily life and you see things that you are privy to. Authenticity also means that you need to know what you stand for, so you can pick the right fund for you. I think there's so many funds hiring right now, but obviously you need to be aligned with the fund strategy. You need to be aligned with that fund's partners' philosophy and personality, so you can do a good job. So the partner's vision, strategy, philosophy in dealing with people is the driving light for the fund. You need to know what is your personal preference, what is your personal philosophy, how do you view yourself, and see if there's a match with that fund's partner, with that fund's mandate. Initially, at the start of your career, if it's not a match, it's probably fine. You just need experience. Just work there and learn as much as possible. But say like 2-3 years in, you should know what you stand for and be on the hunt for the right fund for your next career move. If you have been as inquisitive and full of wonder as I recommended, and be thoughtful about it, I think you will find and work your dream job for your next fund. Next slide, please. So the guide to be an angel and VC ladies, as I think it's the same point that's mentioned before. Stay hungry, and nothing will happen to you in this industry. You have to make it happen. So I share interesting things on how I got my job with Wavemaker. Bobby, which is a trust contact in Vietnam, was referring 𝗃𝗧𝗹𝗶, which was the principal from Wavemaker, to me when 𝗃𝗧𝗹𝗶 flew over to Vietnam and I was at B2b Capital. Just asked me to kind of show 𝗃𝗧𝗹𝗶 around and take care of him. So we chat and we talk. I met him up in Quảng Ninh up in an event, and I was just really impressed with how 𝗃𝗧𝗹𝗶 was sharing about Wavemaker. I took notice that the fund's partners seem to be really down to earth, very passionate, and they take accountability for things that for mistakes that they made, which was very important to me. So when it came to the time to find a job, I was very hungry about it. I called people up, I presented myself. I flew to Singapore when I was 2 months pregnant. I took a call for interview in the middle of the night at 4 a.m. because I went Europe and they were in Singapore time. I got a few job offers, but in the end, I presented myself to Wavemaker. I was very hungry and I told them that I wanted the job with them. And because I already have another 2 job offer, they fast-tracked me, the fast-tracked process for me. They never met me in person, the partners, but still I got the job. Or even for sourcing deals, you have to be on the hunt for it. You have to cold call people, you have to chat with people on LinkedIn who you have never seen before. You have to go to the website, you have to look at the phone number, you have to do research, and just be very hungry, because in these, as I restate again, nothing will happen to you if you don't make it happen. Sometimes you will do things that doesn't warrant results right away, but down the line, you'll see the value of it. The second is to stay humble. This is quite interesting and quite important because so you have a big checkbook behind you as the representative of the fund, right? And whenever you talk to the founder, you feel like you have the upper hand in the relationship because you are the one funding them when they're the one pitching to you. Try to stay humble about it. Sometimes because you listen to so many pitch per week, sometimes it adds to like 30 to 50, you kind of lose interest. You kind of think that you've seen it all and then you think you're smarter than them. But at the end, I try to tell myself that what is making this person give up their job, give up a stable paycheck every month to pursue a dream and follow the path to become a founder? And I think being founder is the hardest job in the world. So what is that drive that is driving this person to undertake such a difficult journey? So stay humble about it. And the third, stay curious, because as I say in VC, we are the jack of all trades. We do not know a lot of things. I mean, we do not know everything about one vertical. We also know a bit of everything, to help, because we have about 15 to 20 companies that we will make investment in one of our job in the fund. So we should know a little bit about everything in order to drive value. So we should stay curious in everyday life to just learn from people, learn from your peers, from your coworker, from your founder, from your boss, from even junior people under you, because I think most of the learning happened from peer to peer, not from books or from school. Next slide, please. So yeah, Evie asked me to share the difference between working for like a very big brand name, a big household name like B2b Capital Ventures, and Wavemaker partner, which is a more regional fund, but a more boutique VC. So I start with pros of working for Vina Capital. So everyone knows Vina Capital in Vietnam. It's a huge household name for asset management. I think it's the second largest fund in Vietnam. So obviously the first pro that come with it is the platform. So being part of the second largest multi-asset fund management firm in the country means that we have a lot of resources to draw from. We have in-house legal team, we have personal assistant that will make all travel booking. We get attendance with VIP conference and seminars with government entities. So we get to sit with guys from State Bank of Vietnam on drafting the framework for the fintech sandbox. We get budget for getting Big Four to help us do due diligence. And we can propose travel anywhere for due diligence on startup. It was fair to say that we were very spoiled, and that helped make work very enjoyable. The second thing is that the branding. So Vina Capital is very famous. We have a VC, we have a PE branch. We have our colleague who are board member on a lot of the big companies that we have stake in. A lot of the bigger companies like Vina Milk or that same group. So we can always ask them for referrals in the industry, and we get a lot of inbound deal flow. That means founder would come to us to pitch to us. We don't have to go out to them. The third thing is that we were not in a VC bubble. We had exposure to real estate, we get exposure to publicly listed company and private equity. It helped put things in perspective, because when you stay in a VC bubble, you see deals being done at like 10, 20x the price to revenue multiple, and sometimes I think it's not very realistic. Third is that we were the pioneer PA and Series A local fund. That means we did not have a lot of competition. I think the only competitor we had then was ESP Ventures from 𝗘𝗧𝗹𝗪𝗃𝗲. So there was only 2 local funds doing pre-Series A deal. There was so we were quite comfortable. All the local founder would come to us, and we didn't have to compete for deals back then. So for cons, because as I mentioned, I was one of the only 3 founding members of the team, and none of us has VC experience. That means we did not have any kind of internal process because we were so new, and we were building things up from scratch. Everything from how a deal was being pushed, we didn't really have a process. Sometimes a partner would give us a deal to do. Sometimes we would push a deal, do it the in-depth work, and then hand over the investment memo to our partners. We don't really see what happens behind the closed door for the investment committee. So sometimes we don't know why a deal was being killed or why a deal was being done. And I think that's quite harmful to us as a person directly interacting with the founder. Sometimes a deal would be done when the partner haven't met the founder. And I think that's not the right way to do it. But I think things have changed now. Vina Capital Ventures has progressed a lot from the initial days. So going on to Wavemaker partner, let's start with the pros. I got what I came here for, a fund that has been over 4 funds over 8 years with 161 portfolio companies. They know what they're doing. There's a lot of reference points. There's a lot of experience, industry knowledge, expert network that I can tap into. So I got a lot of learning, and I grew a lot since the 1.5 years I was here. The second thing is I have an A team who I can learn from. All my colleagues are extremely knowledgeable and wise and always helpful to share their personal learning. So when I look at a new deal, there's a very high chance that someone from the team has seen something similar and can share learnings. Most of my learnings had been from my peers. And to be honest, all my colleagues are very nice people. There's never a sense of toxicity or competitive pressure that we have to stab each other in the back to compete for deals or any of that kind of things. The third is being the person in charge for Vietnam, being the only person in charge for Vietnam means a lot of autonomy for me. I get to decide what I do on a daily basis. So even as a strategy, the mandate for investment, my partner gives me a lot of discretion on how I want to do things in Vietnam. So from sourcing and pushing deal, portfolio support, and community and branding works, I get to decide, or my partner actually haven't been able to fly to Vietnam since I've joined, since the 1.5 years after I joined, and we still did 5 deals. And Wavemaker have been on the rise a lot in Vietnam. So I was able to grow a lot, do my own things, decide how things should be done. So let's go to the con. The con Often it's the same thing. It's a two sides of the same coin, right? Being the only person here means a lot of autonomy, but it also means that I get very lonely sometimes. If I have my colleagues here, sometimes things get boring and I can just go over to them and have a chat and come back and do my work. But I don't have that luxury. I'm the only person here, and that sometimes means a lot of loneliness and missing my colleagues, because I tend to make good friends with my colleagues and share a lot of bonding with them, but I don't get the luxury to meet them in person every day. Let's move on to the next slide. So yeah, I'd love to share with you guys a bit about Wavemaker partners. In Django, Forbes, they do ventures, Insignia, Golden Gate, Django, BNext. I can go on and on. How is Wavemaker partners different? Why should you guys work with us? So who are we? We are the go-to guy for early stage B2B and deep tech in Southeast Asia. So we are the third most active venture capital fund. Just after those two accelerators, I think it's Adler and Entrepreneur First. And it's not even apple to apple, right? Because Adler and Entrepreneur First do really small ticket size, and they are more like accelerators and incubators. So after them, we are the most active early stage fund in Southeast Asia. We have 4 out of the top 10 exits in the tech space in Southeast Asia. So Coin.ph, Mocha, 𝗃𝗧𝗃𝗃𝗄𝐿, and Waycell, 4 out of 10. We have made 140 plus investments in 2012, so 8 years in the making now, and 85% of those have been in enterprise and deep tech. So nobody in the region is as active and as committed as Wavemaker in this space. We have more than 180 million in assets under management. Our Fund 2 and Fund 3 were already the largest early stage VC funds investing in enterprise and deep tech. And we are in the process of closing our Fund 4, which is going to be in the range of $120 million, sometimes at the end of this year. So I'd love to share why B2B and why deep tech. Why did Wavemaker choose this particular angle in Southeast Asia, where a lot of the unicorns are B2C, consumer tech, think Grab, Gojek, Tokopedia. So investing in C in enterprise and deep tech startup is a tremendous, yes, underserved and undervalued opportunity. Why? Because C has a young population of 675 million and a $2 trillion economy that is growing at about 5 to 6% per annum. And Singapore is attempting to become the world's first smart nation, making it fertile ground to launch and nurture tech startup targeting large enterprise or building deep tech. The Singapore government invests about 3 billion per year to spur innovation. And I can argue that true innovation in tech, think Peter Thiel's 0 to 1 would be in deep tech. This is the game changer. Consumer tech just leverage technology to make things easier for the consumer. But true tech, unlocking innovation would be in the deep tech space. So 95% of business in Southeast Asia are SME, which are beginning to embrace technology, accelerated by the adoption of mobile and cloud. And they're in search of localized solutions that will best fit the context. So we think the first wave of unicorn in Southeast Asia is consumer, but the next wave is going to be B2B and SaaS and deep tech. So that's why Wavemaker focused on deep tech and B2B. Yeah, that's my introduction, guys.
Awesome, thank you, Phuong. So I will give you a couple minutes to take a break and just like drink some water while I kind of I can recapture a bit. And I actually especially like the part you share on how to be a VC, right? I think it doesn't matter with the gender. Curiosity is kind of the top one thing. So recently, I kind of hang out with a lot of VC practitioners in Taiwan. And just like when we actually went serving, so without thinking about work, we kind of went serving. But in the surf shop, in the restaurant, we kind of ask a lot of questions to the owner. It sounds like a due diligence. So it's just we just laugh at each other. It's like, oh yeah, even when we are at a leisure, we still think about work. But I think more than that is that we genuinely curious about things because we like to know. Yeah, we just it doesn't matter that is our job or not. we just like to know. We're like, why is I like this? Why is it not like that? So I think that is a very key thing for our audience, that if you have this kind of personality, maybe your parent will hate you, but your teacher might hate you as an Asian kid, but just like you might be a perfect one for VC, because it's all about curiosity. Then you kind of like learn things starting from interest, right? Because no one wants to be forced to learn something. So if you are not curious enough, then you will not expose yourself to very diverse type of company or topics, right? You're very focused on one thing. But sometimes that our work, the fun part of our work is about the diversity, and also to try to connect between A and B. As you said, our job, one of our job is to add value. Sometimes we cannot be the founder to be the industry expert. If we knew better than them, we will run the company instead of them, right? But what we can do is that we actually know a bit on tons of industry, and we might able to give some, like think out of the box with them together and offer some like a different idea for them. And that is under the base of being curious on things. So I think I'm not sure that if you can learn about that, but if you are someone who want to join the path as a VC practitioner, then start from the daily basis, right? So look at things and start wondering why it is like this, why is it like that, and like to talk to people. And I think that is like a very key thing to be a successful investor. Just like you generally like to talk, because they engage with people and you learn from your peer or learn from even the taxi driver. Like you can ask them, or the Uber driver, then you get like, why does this model work to you and why is it not like that? I think there is something that I really like. And about the fund, right? So you mentioned that you kind of joined the Venture Capital as a very spoiled one. There's one question I would like to ask. Do you find it actually set the bar? Like you learn that things should work as this standard in the long run? Or is it some like a positive influence on you? Or you think that it might be a bit negative? Because when you move to Wavemaker, right? So, now I don't get this kind of like a privilege anymore. I need to settle. Do you find it difficult?
No, not at all. I mean, there's always a basic standard in fund industry, right? That's how you're in fund. You're not in a blue collar industry.
True.
It's like I mean, you give this up for that, right? You give up some kind of being spoiled on 5-star hotel for more learning. But it's not like they put you in 2-star hotel at Wavemaker. And so as long as you are not like someone who expect like like princess treatment, I think there's a basic standard of fun works. It's fine. You can
other than the experience or like on the business trip, right? So you mentioned that it's very easy for you to access this kind of like a powerful people, because you are from Venture Capital. You can just do the call, or someone, maybe your boss can just give the contact of the certain GM of the listing company for you. But there is not such thing from Wavemaker. And how you manage to like go through this kind of transition, or what is the new model you do?
It's interesting, right? Because you're right in the sense that back then Anh will always call up the chairman of VietJet, the chairman of I don't know, that's Chang, and help us. When I moved to Wavemaker, I have no such luxury. But what I get is that in Venture Capital, I was just a minion under Anh, and I was just minion doing the work. No one cared who I was. But in Wavemaker, I'm pretty much the kind of pseudo head of Vietnam here. I get to represent the fund, the checkbook behind myself. And we are accumulating a large base of Vietnamese portfolio companies, and some companies overseas that wants to move in Vietnam as well. So I can represent myself as someone, as a voice of Wavemaker. So that also get people to take me more seriously. So maybe I don't get to talk to the chairman or the CEO, but head of, say, technology division or head of digital transformation, yes, they're happy to talk to me. So it's different. You become more go-getter, you become more outgoing, more aggressive because you need to be, but then you can also, you don't have to be a minion under someone anymore.
Got it. And is it something to do with the industry you work on, right? Because we're talking about like a B2B SaaS. So sometimes we talk about this kind of like a disrupted company who is not really this kind of like a tech tycoon, which are very difficult to accept. I think that now the deal you make are more like the startup, and they are commonly welcome to talk to the VC. Is it?
Yeah, all the time.
Got it. And would you mind to share a bit with like a B2B SaaS in Vietnam in as a landscape in general? Because I think that not all of our, I think, let me mute him. Okay, got it. Thank you. Yeah, just like, I think not all of our like a participant or like our audience is really familiar with the B2B SaaS landscape. And can you give us some like a brief idea? How is it? What is the trend? And what kind of like the key factor or like key discipline you are looking for?
So you want to look at the trend of B2B SaaS in Southeast Asia?
Yeah, can you give us some like a brief idea? Maybe start from Vietnam.
So maybe I start from the whole region first and then go down to
sure.
Please. So yeah, as I was saying before, when you think about tech unicorn in Southeast Asia, you think consumer tech. You know that B2C companies tend to grow faster and have larger consumer base. They also tend to be asset heavy with auto models and offline operations and fierce competition. But so B2B SaaS companies take a bit longer to sell to your clients. So say 4 to 5 months to get the first contract going. But once clients are on, they tend to be sticky. This coupled with high gross profit margin make them pretty attractive to investor. So the first SaaS unicorn in Southeast Asia is like Online Pajak, an application that helps individuals and business pay tax in Indonesia. They were recently valued, I think, almost $2 billion, I believe, and they are backed by prominent PE investor, not just VC. So we see a deeper interest into B2B SaaS companies. Probably PE investor are interested because of the more healthy margin level as well. So the region is still an emerging innovation hub, right? The early success has been consumer tech. But we see a stronger B2B trend. Singapore is probably the best place for SaaS startup to start with, reason being that the English-speaking population and the SME being more sophisticated and ready to adopt new technologies. So we see all kinds of SaaS in Singapore, HR, e-commerce, productivity, all kinds. But when you move to countries, I think behind Singapore, in Southeast Asia, I think the follow-up would be Philippines, Indonesia, and Vietnam. So I think Indonesia and Philippines are pretty more advanced than Vietnam for SaaS adoption. Their SME are more English-speaking. They're more open to adopting technologies. We see a lot of activities in the HR payroll space and also the RPA space, where applications are developed to streamline enterprise operation and reduce costs. So in Vietnam, right, I talk more about Vietnam because I'm from Vietnam. There's been quite a lot of activities in the SaaS space as well, mainly for organizational management and e-commerce management. But we have some prominent names like 𝗃𝗲𝐿 recently raised a $50 million round with the backing of Jungle. We see name like Sapo, Haravan, Base, One Office, which is all for e-commerce and organizational management. For RPA, we see name like Busy. They're helping chain company digitize invoicing, which can be repetitive. We hope to see more immersion of SaaS companies because of the high quality tech talent based locally, and we also have a large base of SME. So we hope to see more SaaS in Vietnam. Overall, I think traditional companies, SME, need to embrace digitization because to take their productivity to the next level, like once you get your productivity to a certain level, which is right now, you need to embrace tech to take it to the next level. This can only mean embracing SaaS.
Awesome. Actually, I have one follow-up question, right? So at the beginning of this part, you actually mentioned English speaking a lot, like just like from Singapore, from Indonesia, or especially Philippines. Do you find it important for the startup, I think having this kind of like an English speaking working environment, or how would that influence your decision making?
I think it's important in the sense that, I mean, like, a SaaS company can always localize by changing the language, right? But having a more English-speaking population simply means that they are more open to taking in new knowledge and new trend in the world. And this also implies to a more stronger readiness to embrace technology. Because I think one of the main pushback for adoption of SaaS in the company is the workers' reluctance to learn new technology. I think every day, you're doing this repetitive task, but that's what you're used to your whole life, even though it's shitty, but you're used to it. So making you onboard a new SaaS product would take like at least 1 to 2 weeks, and that kind of disrupt your whole working rhythm. If you're an English-speaking person, that can imply that you are more open to embracing new ideas, new things, new technology, new way of life, and I think that can translate to a better readiness at embracing SaaS.
Got it. I agree. Yeah, in Southeast Asian market, right? For example, like it's very fragmented, which means that in Indo we speak Indonesian, in Thai they speak Thai, in Malay English, this and that, right? So just like sometimes that when the company want to expand regionally, they still need to localize. Do you think that English-based environment will help them better on the localized, or do you find it actually it's as challenge as, you know, like based from like a Vietnamese speaking company?
I think you still need language is just the first barrier. I think to localize, you actually need to go into the country, have the sales team and customer support team. That there's no way around it. I don't think you can sit in Vietnam and sell to Indonesian customer without having a sales team in Indonesia. First, to understand the local nuance. Sometimes a very tiny little cultural difference in doing things can mean a lot of things for the SaaS product implication. And the second thing is you need to support your customer post sales. That means the customer support in integration team. You need to have someone there to follow up. The tech team can be based offshore, no problem.
Yeah.
The customer support team needs to be based onshore next to your customers. That also means that that also have a lot of implication for your product development. You take feedback from your customer and then you take back to the tech team to reiterate and change the product as your customer need. If the two sides are like just like in different countries, it's going to take a long time and it's going to be like word lost in translation. It doesn't work.
Definitely. And I think starting from like an English basis, there's a one advantage, right? So just like at the pilot stage, you don't need to localize the language yet. You can find a 1 or 2 like the customer to do the pilot in English first and let them give you the feedback that how should you change this and that. So you don't need to like go through a super long like iterating period. You can like knowing all the pain point and change it all at once. So there will be a one key advantage for the B2B SaaS company, right?
Exactly.
Definitely. And second, let's move on since we have 10 minutes, right? So can you share a bit on the due diligence part, right? So just like, because you actually share that you just invest in one company in Bangalore, right? So Bangladesh?
Pakistan.
Oh, Pakistan, I'm sorry. So it's just like, it's like a super far away from Vietnam, and I bet you can't do like a field due diligence. So do you have this kind of like the structure, how you review the deal, like a B2B deal? And is it more applicable because B2B is more fixed, easier to review, even though you don't travel to that in the field?
Yeah, so we do have kind of a process that we look at when we look at a deal. I think it's more an art than a science, but it's a lot of intuition, but I can try to verbalize it out here. So obviously the first thing we look at is a team, and that means a few things. Experience, obviously, we want someone, for example, if healthcare industry person targeting the healthcare industry, I want them to be experience in the healthcare space. They can have they are a doctor, like a sales representative of pharmaceutical companies. I need them to have sweat, blood, and tears in that industry to know the in and out of that industry. I need them to know insights that the other people, industry outsider, don't have the insights to. I need the founder to be thoughtful, resourceful, and coachable, so that the founder will talk to us and reiterate when it is needed, not to stay kind of stubborn and believe in his own ideals too much. Then we look at the market pain point. What is the pain point that this founder is trying to tackle? And what is the current status quo? Is the current solution too inconvenient? Is it too painful? Is it sizable? Are there enough people that is willing to pay for this new solution? And how does that translate into potential market size? We need the market size to be big enough in order to derive a venture grade return. Then we look at the ideal customer profile. Who are the startups' ideal customer profile, and how much are they willing to pay? How much persuasion is needed to get this customer to be the startup's customer? And then we look at the competitive landscape, SWOT analysis, potential competitive advantage, defensibility. Is our product truly superior? Is our technology defensible? Are we just competing on price? Is the product integration effort customer success after sales support? And then we look at organic growth. Is this startup growing organically? How much funding has grown into the startup, and how does that compare with the total revenue that the startup is deriving? We don't want the company to have raised like $1 million and is achieving a yearly revenue of just $200,000. That means very wasteful capital. Yeah. We look at a lot of things, and we try to look at things from a contextual point. We would juggle two metrics together. So I just give you a few examples of things that we look at together. So we would look at, for B2B companies, if we look at the length of sales cycle, how much time would it go in to convince one customer to become your customer versus the average contract size? You don't want to spend 6 months to get $2,000 in revenue for one contract. Second, customer lifetime value divided by customer acquisition cost need to be at least above 3x. Average revenue per year divided by number of employees. You cannot have 100 employees with $200,000 in yearly revenue. That means a lot of wasteful money is being spent on your employee. How big is your churn? And we look at a few different churn metrics. So logo churn, mean number of paying customer currently, divided by total number of paying customer 12 months ago. And revenue churn, which is the total revenue currently from customer that signed up 12 months ago, and the total revenue currently from those exact same customer. And these things are very different, right? Even though they're both churn. You want negative revenue churn, which means your expansion revenue from existing customer total more than your lost revenue. Logo churn is okay because sometimes a customer sign up and they are not your ideal customer and they go away, and that's okay. But if your ideal customer sign up, you need to be able to get them to spend more and more each year. That means your customer is sticky and growing with you, and we love that. So my point being that some of our due diligence is art. A lot of it is intuition, reading the founder, reading whether they are thoughtful, they're not an asshole, we can work with them, smart. A lot of it is reading the market. Is this market big enough? Will a lot of more funding going to the company? And some of it will be kind of more quantitative. So metrics, but then as I was saying, metrics need to be weighed against each other, not as a standalone thing.
Got it. I totally agree. Just like, if I can summarize it, is like, you want to see that this money you put can bring you like at least 2-3x return on the revenue side, right? So just like capital efficiency is definitely very, very important. And you want to see that with the same customer, can they get them on board faster? And can they stay longer? Can they be like spend more with them? So your like the AR can be like expect to grow even without the growth on the customer side, right? So it's very important to see that, because I think B2B SaaS, there's one beauty is that it's easier to predict the like a revenue growth, right? So it's just like the churn rate maybe is not that high. So for you, it's just like, okay, now I can foresee that what would happen maybe 3 months, 6 months from now. And that become a key metric for you to evaluate.
Exactly. Once you reach a golden point in SaaS, which is 2 million in ARR, it pretty much means that you will survive. You will probably be profitable. Whether you will grow to become venture grade and a unicorn, we do not know. Because sometimes startup will get to a certain base and the market is capped. You exhaust all your leads in one market, all the SME you have contact, all the customer that willing to pay are already your paying customer, and you cannot grow anymore. You have to go overseas or you will stay a profitable SME, which is okay for the founder, but probably not okay for the venture fund.
Definitely. And I actually have one question, follow-up question on that, right? So sometimes when we evaluate the early stage startup, B2B SaaS, right? So they might have some impressive customer list, right? But sometimes we will think that, are they actually just well connected? Maybe they are the son of, some like an amazing company or very influential businessman in the country, that they can get an easy access to the early adapter, but will they grow? How would you evaluate this kind of situation?
I completely agree. So I agree that, if you are a son of someone very important and you are doing a startup, that's a brownie point for you, right? You're probably smart, you're accomplished, you're well connected. And it is great that you're getting off the traction. Sometimes the company do not know that need something until someone top down push it down to them, because as I was saying, people are reluctant to change. So then we have to look at the competitive landscape and we look at the status quo. When the company were not using your product to do what the product is meant to do, what were they using? Was it painful for them, or was it just okay? How much value are you bringing to the company? So for example, if before they need 10 people to do this particular task, after they use your product, do they need only 5 people? And how much does that translate into saving? That's one thing we look at, and we do that by interviewing the customers. We interview the other non-customer in the industry, and we do our own competitive landscape research. What is the status quo? Is there any other product, any alternative that can do what you do? Are you cheaper? How are you better? So I think with research, you can find that out pretty clearly.
Definitely. So we need to know that if they're the quality age, even though they have the customer, right? But it doesn't mean that they actually solve the problem. So we actually need to have a more fair research and like a competitive landscape to understand that, is it this company really bring value and can they actually grow? So it's not really a must that you have a nice customer list and then the venture will invest in you. No, that will not be the case. Okay. So now let's move on to the Q&A session. I have my first question from Nguyen. I think he is ready. Is it he? So normally we let the person to ask a question. Yeah.
So hello, Ms. Phuong and Evie. I would like to ask that what the most common thing about the successful SaaS business that you invested in common, the common in the successful B2B SaaS you have invested in?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for the question. I think it's a great question. So we have 160 companies in our portfolio, right? And we did this special project where we scroll in depth to see what was the common theme between the founders that are successful, meaning they got a business to raise a lot of funding, this business is making profits, get exits. How are they different from the founder that fail, basically? And we found two main things. And it doesn't only stay with SaaS or B2B, but I think it's more just being a founder. First is that they can set realistic and thoughtful milestones for themselves down the line in the next 2 years. That can mean milestone for revenue, milestone for number of customer, milestone for profit, milestone for anything really, just that milestone. So you need to be able as a founder to define for your business which milestone is most meaningful. So for a company like Grab, that will mean number of trips. For a company like SaaS, that means number of customers, number of churn, you need to define which milestone is important and what that milestone will be down the line in 6 months, in 12 months, in 15 months, in 24 months. And if you can set meaningful milestone that you will meet, you will consistently meet, you are likely to be successful. We have a lot of founders that just set, the outrageous milestone for when we invest, we're going to 10x the revenue next year. And that milestone will always be missed. And those founders don't seem very bright, don't seem very promising. So the first thing you need to set meaningful milestone that you will meet down the line. The second is that the founder need to be thoughtful and sensitive to their customers and the stakeholder. You need to be able to observe nuance and derive that into understanding and learnings. And you can take back and change your products, your marketing, your approach, anything. You start out with a great idea that you pitch to VC. VC thinks it's a great idea. You get some customers. Doesn't mean you will succeed. You need to continue on this path of continually monitoring the market, your stakeholders, your competitors, and see what needs to be changed. What have you learned from the journey so far? 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and continue to bring that back to the table and change and reiterate. If you can do that, and you can do these two things, you are likely to succeed.
Okay. So you talk about the milestone. I would like to ask something more about when it comes to the milestone on the number, which number you see in the B2B SaaS, or the SaaS stuff in general is different from other type of SaaS, the number that you look at.
So yeah, obviously we look at monthly recurring revenue. We look at average contract size. We look at your sales cycle. It needs to be a balance between sales cycle and average contract value. If the contract value is $1,000, it should be faster. If it's very big contract value, say $50,000, you can spend a bit longer. And as time go on, we love to see it decrease. So if I talk to you now and you say you need 6 months to close a customer, if I catch up with you in a few months, I love to see that it has decreased to 3 months, because your initial other customers see that you have traction with other customers. They see that your product is bringing value. They should be easier to convince. We look at churn, as I was saying, logo churn versus revenue churn, track those two closely. But obviously, in the first, if your product is really early and those metrics are not available yet, we will look more into you as a founder, and the team and the market, rather than those metrics, because they're just not available yet. Yeah. So it depends also what stage are we looking at the company.
Yeah, okay. Thank you a lot for your answer.
Thank you. Next, we have Tung. Off to you.
Hi. Thank you for your wonderful sharing. Okay, I want to ask you one question. It seems like you very value the people who are behind the startup, right? So is there any case that you actually like the business but not the team?
Yes.
Then do you actually will, is there any way that you will bring that idea to another team that you actually know can actually make it happen?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sometimes, right, you might see that a business is a very good business, that a lot of opportunity to grow, but you don't really like the team behind it, the founders, let's say. So can you actually, do you think it's actually ethical to bring the idea to share with someone else that you think can be a better team to make that happen?
Yeah, a great question. I think this happens sometimes because it's a people's business. Sometimes we don't like people. So I need to sit down and ask myself, why don't I like this team? And I think there's a lot of approach that can be done, but it also varies on why I don't like this team. So if I don't like the team, because I need to be fair about this. I don't like the team because they are just nerds, and I don't like to hang out with nerds. That's not fair. I cannot do that. I will not succeed like that if I think like that as a VC. If I don't like them because I think they are not smart and they're not thoughtful about the business, But I mean, that doesn't work, right? Because if I like the business, they're probably smart. So I can only think of one reason, or two reasons. If I like the business, I don't like the founders. I probably go into them. First is that they are unethical, and this has happened before. The business is great, the idea is great, but I found that the team can be unethical in the sense that they do things to leak out money, or they do things that are just unethical. Then I think it's unethical for me to show that deal to other people, because this is the key of being a founder. You need to be ethical. You need to be trustworthy and responsible with the fund's money, because we place a lot of trust on the founder. We never go into your bank account to check how much money is left. We don't check what are you spending the money on. We don't go that into detail. So there needs to be implicit trust. And if I think that the founder's character is up to question, then it is obvious that I cannot show this deal to other people. The second is that if I think the founder's I don't like the founder because the working style is different than my own. If I expect him to be very detail oriented, I expect him to give me progress report every month. I expect him to be very professional, very English speaking, salesy, but he's a down to earth kind of a laid back guy who is more into operation execution, and he's just not polished. Then I think that I will still show the deal to other people, but I will help the founder to become more the type of founder that other fund will appreciate. So help him grow into the right type of founder.
Wow, interesting.
Okay. I have one more type to propose. So sometimes in the B2B SaaS, right? So they're like in the early stage, they accomplish something, but they kind of like bring the business into the bottleneck, that they have reached their like maximum of their capability. They probably cannot bring the business any further. What would you do in that kind of deal?
Yeah, I was having this kind of question myself. I was looking at this SaaS deal. Numbers were great, growth was great. Founder didn't speak English. What to do? Like can't even communicate with my partner. And I chose not to do the deal because I think this can be approached in a different way if I were a PE investor. But as a VC, like I place a lot of respect and trust in the founder. I don't want to do the kind of thing where you take out the founder, you bring in a professional CEO. It's just not the thing that you do in VC at this stage. So at the point of investment, if I think that the founder is already at his max capacity for growth, I will not propose the deal. But if down the line, after we invest through 3 years down the line, and if we have both come to the realization that the company will benefit from someone stepping in, then I think it's okay. But already at pitch, and I realize that founder is at max capacity, is very difficult.
Totally agree. I think that I saw some of these kind of deal too, and yeah, as you said, right, it's more like a PE thing. So they would just buy the business and replace the team. But in VC, especially in the early stage, we still work closely with the founder, and we don't do it like a hands-on, like we don't hold their hand to teach them or tell them what to do, right? So they still need to, exactly, have the ability to grow themselves. If they reach a limit, probably, no go.
Okay. And I mean, we can always bring in, I will help you with hiring. I will try to help you to find, if you're not good with numbers, trying to find you a CFO, not good with tech, a commercial guy, can try to help find you a CTO, but there needs to be some basic there.
I think the founder need to have the vision and also humble enough, right? Sometimes we meet a lot of founder, they have every right to have big ego because they actually accomplish something nice, but sometimes they kind of stuck in their own bubble that they think that, this dead end still is the right way to go.
Exactly. And that's why I say at the start, right, you need to see if the founder is coachable, or are they too stubborn and hard-headed.
Also, question about this, right? So in the B2B SaaS, like lots of founder actually, they start from sales, right? And some founder actually start from as a tech background. So what if the CEO is not really the sales type? Would you find it suitable of this kind of business?
We think it's okay. We really prefer industry founders. And if they need to get the number, they need to know the industry, they need to know, build the team, they need to execute. If they not choose 𝗘𝗧, we can help with that. And I think the time of the 𝗘𝗧 founder only has come and gone. Investors are more discerning now after they have been burned by the 𝗘𝗧 type of founders.
I totally agree. Totally agree. Okay, then. Thank you. Do you have more questions?
No, that's good for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Michael. Off to you, Michael.
Thank you very much. I'm Michael from 𝗘𝗧𝗃𝐿𝐄𝐊. So my question would be, given that a huge emphasis on climate technology, what is your stand on this industry, and have Wavemaker invested in any startup in the Southeast Asian region in this vertical?
Did you say climate technology?
Yes, like sustainability technology, green technology. Yeah.
Yep. Personally, I love them. I think climate change is a big issue, and we as VC investors should do something about it. But we are not a predominantly impact fund. We are a B2B SaaS and deep tech fund. Then sometimes climate would overlap with deep tech, right? Let me try to remember. So we have one company in India that is a ride-sharing platform. I always say that it's not predominantly climate change, climate tech, but it does help. What we invest into is something in Philippines called Comunidad. They are a dashboard matrix that accumulate all sorts of climate information to show to government entities. Because think about it, if you are a government, you have all sorts of information for climate change or climate metrics, and you don't know what is the exhaustive source. So this company would gather all the source, refine that, and give that to the government entity to make decision. So we have a few, but I would say it's a more opportunistic basis. We are not focused on climate tech as a fund, but we do have a spin-off separate fund called Wavemaker Impact that is being launched right at the moment, that will focus on climate change and other impact investment, which I can love to introduce to you if relevant.
I don't mind. Yeah, thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. Next, we have Yuan. She's not available, so I will read her question. Probably her, and then I think Tom can help to pass it on the chat box. So, what are the strategy for B2B SaaS startup to expand from its local market to Southeast Asian region?
Yeah, I think as I was sharing, I have seen some startup in Vietnam successfully do that, and the only way is to have a sales team and a customer support team in your local target market. So if you want to go to Indonesia, have a sales team there, have a customer support team there. If you want to go to
Hello, Phuong. Is it me or Phuong's screen froze?
Yeah,
Give
it's
it
me also. Yeah. I think it's
Okay. She's gone. Okay. Well, we waiting for her, right? So just like, I think that is, let me share a bit on that note on the customer support, right? So she mentioned a bit on the like a local culture and customer service, this kind of thing. And I do have a friend actually run a B2B business, and they try to expand into Southeast Asian country. And I think there was one time that he shared with us is that, okay, so we didn't know. Hello. I try to save it for sharing some weird story. Go back to you.
No, go ahead. Love to hear it.
Yeah, just like because you share about the localization, right? So just like because I think one of my friends and their business actually expand to South Asia, but sometimes the payment term is more relaxed on there and like a very rigid in Taiwan. Actually, recently we just know Taiwan is the most on-time payment market for the payment in the world, actually, in Asia at least. And just like, so when they design a product, they never think about the flexibility on this kind of like the payment term. And they become a big issue for their customer there in Southeast Asia. And they've been complaining, say, hey, we really like to have some flexibility because it's the business culture here. But sadly, they cannot adjust early or on time. So they actually lost a lot of business there. That's why I was like, yeah, localization sometimes is not just about the language, but sometimes you really need to know how people do that kind of business there in the market.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think we lost you from the beginning. Would you mind to actually share, reshare what you said earlier?
Oh, okay. I think the only way to go overseas in a new market is to have a sales team and customer support team in that local market. As I say, you need to talk to your customer, you need to support them, understand them, and take their feedback and reiterate with your product. And you cannot do that sitting in Vietnam while your customer is in Indonesia. It's very difficult.
Got it.
Would
you recommend the CEO actually relocate actually at least some of his time or her time in that the new market they want to expand?
Sure, definitely.
Yeah, just like being the front line and really feel the market. That's what I always say. Okay.
It's not easy. Yeah.
I would say that it's not, especially when you have something going on in your home market too. So you need to be actually quite mature in your home market first to be ready for you, like to have the solid base to grow from.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the type of SaaS that there's still opportunity in. So I think personal productivity is pretty much out of the question now because all the Silicon Valley company and all the Indian company has dominated that. So if you want to do something in e-commerce, you want to do something like organization management, HR, it's not like, it's not standardized human to human. It's a lot of collaboration between different people. And then you have cultural nuance, you have work habits, you have, that's where the countries differ. You need to move to your local market, understand how they even work to each other. It's truly different in Singapore, Philippines, and in Vietnam. You cannot just like, sit here and expect to understand what's going on in the market you are targeting.
Got it. Okay, we have the next question from Andrew. He's not available. His question is at bootstrapping versus VC funding. When to take investment? Any thought on that?
I think you take investment when the valuation you are able to command makes sense. I always say that even for SaaS, right? For early stage companies, the art of valuing your company is more an art, not a science. You think about your milestone down the line. You think about what number you want to achieve in 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, and how much money do you need to go there. If you can bootstrap your way, great, bootstrap it. If you cannot bootstrap your way, think about exactly how much money you need to burn to reach to your destination of milestone that you set for yourself. And then say if you need 500K, maximum, dilution for rounds is 15 to 20% early stage. Then that's your valuation. The VC, if they believe in you, will try to work backward with you, use all the metric to justify the valuation. But for myself personally, I prefer to work backward because I think it's a matter of whether you believe in the founder or you believe in the dream or not. You believe whether they will grow into the valuation or not. It's not a matter of like, sit down, take your MRR, times it by 10, negate it a little because you have a lot of churn, you come up to a random number and say that's your valuation. I don't think that works that way. So yeah, figure out how much money you need. If you can bootstrap it, bootstrap it. If you don't need it, if you cannot bootstrap it, raise VC funding, and then try to make your story compelling in the sense that the VC will work with you to work backward to get the valuation that you deserve.
Yeah, actually, that is actually a good point. But also there is one scenario actually is that as a B2B SaaS, right? Sometimes they can actually break even in the very, very early stage, right? So they technically they don't need the money, but actually VC money help them to grow. So when you think, or just like, do you have any suggestion for those who has break even, don't really need the money, but not sure if they need to raise this kind of founder?
You know, I have two personal friends, really good friends that I admire, that are SaaS founder that turned down term sheet for multiple VCs. Why? Because they are turning profits, and they were telling me, okay, if I get on the VC bandwagon, I have this partner jumping at me every month to see my growth. If I don't make that that grow milestone that I set for myself, then my life is just going to be stressful. And like, do I need that? I mean, I have like profits coming in every month. And this is something you need to ask yourself, and you want, and you have to do that exercise for yourself, right? Will your SaaS product be something that you think can grow to a big enough scale for venture grade return? And then you have to do your market sizing. Are there enough people in the market is willing for your products that we can eventually reach like 10 million, 20 million in revenue? And there's enough room for you to grow. If you exhaust all your ideal customer profile, where would that get you? Once you exhaust all that, can you go overseas? Is that realistic? Is that possible? And if it's not, and you're turning up a profit, there's no shame. There's no kind of point to go to VC, and then both sides just want to be sad and like unfulfilled, because if VC expect venture great return, even though you're turning a profit, you're giving them dividend, they're not happy and they're just sad. And then you were just sad because you took their money, and then now you have someone to be responsible for. Why you should be happy because you're making money in your life. So I read this article the other day. They say 99% of the company in South Asia should not be taking VC money. They should seek other way of source of capital, because if you don't understand the VC game, it's just going to be stressful for both sides of the table. We expect venture great return. That means we want to, on your case, for you to grow. But if you think that because you are growing, modestly, you get a profit every month, that should make the VC happy, right? We're not happy. Like, know that. Then live your life, go travel, buy like goods that you're happy with your profit. Don't go to VC.
I think that that's probably the most sincere comment I ever heard. I think everyone, actually most of the founders, they need to be real. They need to realize that there's just that few company can be unicorn, right? And probably like 99%, if you survive, you become SME. So just like evaluate your deal, as Phuong just said, and she provide very detailed method for you to evaluate. If you really think that you can be really a big deal, you have a big dream and you need a ton of resources, then go take VC money. If not, then just like be happy with SME too. It's like you will have way happier life than taking VC money.
Yeah.
We have the last question from how, and is it how I should pronounce it? Yeah, you're on.
Hi, Miss Evie. I can't not open my camera.
Don't worry. You just ask your question.
Okay. So I have one question for Miss Phuong. What are the typical milestones that a good SaaS company should hit in the whole cycle of investment that could make a VC impressed? Yeah, that's my question.
So there's a few things, and they always go with each other as well. Every month we were trying to track your MRR growth, and that should be organic growth. And what I mean by that is there's a rule of 40 that we apply in the SaaS business. The rule of 40 is an industry rule that say high growth SaaS company can burn as much cash as they like to do in order to drive growth. That's okay, as long as its growth rate is 40% percentage point higher than the free cash flow margin. So track your growth rate and your free cash flow margin. Track your churn, MRR, contract size, capital raise versus revenue growth, DLV, CAC, this is some very typical milestone for SaaS, but mainly track your growth in MRR and your free cash flow. That's the two things that we track the most as a VC. And obviously, if you are, you hit additional funding, you raise up round for us, we'd be very happy. But I think that's more the effects, not the cost. The cost is still your organic growth rate.
Got it. So if they have discount reached the magic number on 40, then I think their AO will not bother them much then. Is it? So what if that the one that actually get a really impressive growth, that would you think that it's too good to be true, or just like
like things change, right? It's a time series kind of event. You can hit your growth this month or this quarter, and next month something happened, COVID happened. We have this really great hotel SaaS company that was just on the way to the top, and then COVID happened. You never know what's happening in the VC industry, and you need to brace yourself for a roller coaster ride. And that's the mark of a true VC. That we as VC test our founder before investment. I think founders should do the due diligence on these VC as well. It is someone that's going to be understanding and supportive with you in the test of time. Will you understand your predicament that is outside of your hands? Or are they kind of, when the good times are good, I'm here, the bad times are bad, like I don't know you. Trying to do due diligence on your VC as well. And that's what a lot of my good friends, good founders do. They ask for reference, they ask for founders that have worked with this VC, talk to them and get reference. That's probably my last advice for this panel. Do your due diligence.
Awesome. I think if you want to do the due diligence with VC, right, you need to put yourself in the position that you are not urgently need the money, right? So you need to run a good business, which seems like has a bright future. Then you can be picky. So I think VC is like this. Like we close the umbrella in the running day, right? So just like basically that if you want to raise, make sure that your business is doing well, then you get the right to pick. You don't leave till like you have a 3 months run rate, and then you basically need to take whatever shitty term sheet you can receive. Then your life can be miserable in the long run.
Yeah, you need to plan ahead. That's perfectly right.
Awesome. Okay, so now we reached the end of the session. I think it's the picture time. So I will let them to run this part. I would just be me.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you for coming with us until the last minute, and I would love to invite everyone to turn on your camera to share with us a very good smile, and we will have a picture with each other. Okay, I'm going to give everyone some few seconds. Okay, I can see many people in here. Okay, thank you everyone. So I'm going to take the picture now. 1, 2, cheers. The second one. Okay, 1, 2, cheers. Thank you very much.
Okay, awesome. Thank you everyone for your time, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Most you are.
No, just like thank you for sharing. Actually, just like I actually always like to learn from the one that have the cross fund experience, right? So just like it's not everyone get to work for this kind of very diverse experience, and they can actually help us to compare what it is as a local big guy and then the regional guy. So I personally learned a lot. Thank you for your time to be here with us. Tom, do I have anything need to announce before we close the session?
I think everything is good for now. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you all for your time. I'll see you guys soon. Bye. Have a good night there.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Phuong.